Okay?
So why when somebody do the cubing or hijama, the cubing, he actually pretty much can adjust himself?
Well, here's the thing. Now, what happened traditionally is the Hakims then would look at this whole schema, and they became very sophisticated in recognizing that basically, as Rumi said, everything has a quality of hot, cold, wet, and dry. It's like Rumi said, I am locked in this cage of four walls, referring to the four elements. Because everything you experience has basically a quality of hot, cold, wet, or dry. Yes? Do you see what I mean by that? In other words, you can have a very exciting experience with lots of heat, or a very boring experience. Do you see what I'm saying? Or you can have one that's pretty balanced. You can have one that has lots of joy and feeling. Right? Pleasure. So the question is, why would he do that? I'm sorry.
I mean, like for example, myself, my personal experience that I was having too many things going on in my mind. So I went to it was actually down. Like it was sad with depression and stuff like that.
Okay, so you felt sad and depressed.
Yeah, so when I went to when I did the hijama, the cubing, I felt different though. Like there's a lot of changes in your message, in your mood.
Yeah.
So from extreme mood to actually like feeling.
Yeah.
You know? So just by just getting some blood out of my head.
Well, here's the other thing is it's important to remember too that even one drop of blood from the upper circulation, I see a head nodding. Even one drop of blood from the upper circulation has an effect on the entire body, and dramatic effect. Even one drop. So people who are diabetics, for example, and who take blood on a regular basis, one of the things that's overlooked there is that taking of that drop of blood to do their testing affects their pancreas, affects the function of their kidneys and pancreas. The spleen contracts, right? When you have a drop of blood, one drop from upper circulation. Adrenaline is released. When adrenaline is released, that's pretty important in terms of a diabetic personality. So there's many different things that happen with bleeding. I mean, first of all, there's the actual loss of blood and the fluids. In the traditional view, it was understood that was balancing the fluids. And the rebalancing of fluids was done by changing all of the habits. If someone is too cold and dry, you introduced warm and moist experiences, foods, climates, conditions to change that temperament. Now, foods were seen as hot, cold, wet, and dry. Right? Some foods are very hot and dry, some foods are cold and wet, etc., etc., etc. Traditionally, they used letting of blood. They used baths. The hammam was something used traditionally to dramatically. Between the combination of the hammam and the diet, the mizaj could be changed dramatically. And I've done that with people in my own work, mostly in terms of studying this, and people who were willing to undergo and to experiment changing their mizaj by following these principles of staying with, in other words, changing from a cold and dry constitution to develop a more warm and moist constitution with proper foods and then appropriate bath, hammam procedures to do so. But again, there was a science to the baths. And the baths in Ibn Sina's time were understood to be, they could balance any of the humors. You could increase or decrease. And baths were also seen as things like sand baths or earth baths, in which you actually bathe yourself in mud or in sand. All of these had different qualities and different effects. So also music and environment. In Andalusia, they were treating emotional problems in Andalusia with music, diet, drama, right? Colors, because certain colors, red, yellow, right? Blue and green, white. These colors can actually, if you eat on a tablecloth that's red, it will actually stimulate the hot and wet from a traditional point of view. I've done that. I've worked with that myself. So in Andalusia, they were treating people with all of these things For emotional disturbances, recognizing the emotional disturbances were imbalances in the humors, while in Europe, basically their treatment was manacles and stocks and constraints and straitjackets and padded cells. And really, that method of that approach has not been, it's only been more sophisticated. The method of constraint and control has been, it's been sophisticated into a pill. So you don't have to actually have the physical stocks. I know in principle, they say, you're the pharmacist, in principle they say, no, it's to make the person feel better, but it really is constraint and control, isn't it?